Hello class, what we're doing today is the employee and employee test program. What they are is object-oriented programming. We're finally getting into that. This is the final frontier. I'm just kidding. So these two files are located on SchoolFusion. So just go check those out and download them and put them in your BlueJ, and you should be at the point where I'm at. And these are subject to change, so make sure you get the most recent updated one online. The interesting thing about this is we only need one import statement because everything's going to be defined in the classes. Please realize that this has no void main. We go public class employee and then we start with variable declarations. These are all the basic variables that are part of the employee class. We can make more of them, as many as we want. There's no limit. They'll just have to have unique names. Only to this class. Realize that any other class we make can have an age variable, and it won't interfere with this age variable at all because it's contained inside this object. This is where objects may have their huge advantage. The next what we have here is we have two constructors. The reason why there's multiple constructors is there is a public employee and public employee. However, you have multiple parameters. As long as there's a different order of variables, not names but variable types, then that can work. So I can make another constructor that would look like this if I were to go like this. However, I can't make another constructor that looks like this. And I just go my name and ager, because these are just names that represent the values that are passed through here. Well, the same value type is passed in for both of these, so we cannot do this one. That is bad, so we're going to delete that. We can do this, but we'd have to go like this, and we'd still want to do something with these parameters. Now, just because these are the same parameter types, the order is different, therefore they are different constructors. So if I compile this, it will not give me an error. Hopefully, there it is, no error. I'm going to comment it out. The next one is what we want to look at is we have different ways to do default values. So we have a public employee with just a string name. So we're assigning name, which is this name, to this dot name, which represents this name, which is very, very confusing. Now, the other way to do this is down in the next one. We have the this dot name set up, and we have my age. So my age equals age. So we're assigning the value of my age, which is passed in through the function call. So the constructor call. This value is then assigned to the variable age, which is declared inside the object. Let's go over that again. We have a constructor. This constructor gets two values, a name and an age. It takes my age, assigns it to age, which is part of the employee class. The string name does the same exact thing. It takes this variable, assigns it to this dot name. This dot name means this class's name variable. The best way to do default values is inside this constructor. If I want to say age equals 21, I want to say designation equals a string type of computer programmer, and salary equals 100K. So this is my default value setting because the user didn't give me values for those. I want to assign a value. I could say 0 for default, and I would go NA for non-applicable and $0 because the salary wasn't given. That means they don't earn anything. What I want you to do is create a constructor that has 3 parameters. And there's a constructor here with 2 parameters. There's a constructor here with 1 parameter. I want you to make one that has 3 parameters. Again, here's 1, here's 2. Just add another variable at the end right here with a comma, variable type, and then variable name, and then you're all set. Make sure you set up all 4 declarations for all 4 variables so you have a default value for all of them. The next one we have is we have getters and setters. These two are setters. And the way I know that they are setters is they do not return anything. The return type is void, which means I do not return anything. These are basically like my constructors because I'm passing in a variable, age. I'm setting age to age, which age up here is this age. Employee age is just the age of the employee. Emp age is the value that's just passed in. Down here, employee designation, which means their job type. I'm passing in a string, assigning that string to designation. Notice I always change my variable names to be different from the object variable names so that I have no issue with the this dot and I just don't get confused. I'd rather not get confused. A lot of programmers use this dot and they use the same variable name so that you know that it's the same exact variable type and value. Even though this variable disappears, and after this line of code right here, it is just easier to. So what I mean by that is if I go this exact opposite, emp design equals designation, I'm going to get an error variable out of scope because emp design does not exist because it destroys itself after this line of code. The next one are getters. And what they do is they get the age because they have a return type of the variable type that they're returning. So they're returning an integer, so when I call this function, this actually gets replaced with an integer value. So if I were to call this, I'd probably get 21. If I were to call this, I'd get the name of the employee. Now we could, let's go over to employee test. We could go here and say employee age. If I were to go 1.age, I'm pretty sure this will compile. Now the reason why this will compile is employee age is public. If I were to make this private, this will actually not work because age has private access employee. That means I cannot access this variable directly. I would have to use my getters and setters. So I set and then I'd get it somewhere else. So I would say, so now when I compile it, it'll work. And now it'll print out my age there too. Now the reason why you make something private is because you don't want them to be able to change the age. This should not be changed except for within the function on the new year. The new year should increase all employee ages by 1. So you'd have a object class called employees, plural, which would hold all the objects as subclasses of employee. And then you can set up where you'd call employees next year, everyone's age would increase, or a birthday function, or something like that. The next one we have down here is the toString method. The toString method is actually pretty cool because it makes it so that you can output what the object is holding in a manner that is readable to humans. Because without this, if you comment this whole thing out, and I were to run the program, which is really cool, I highly recommend you doing this on your own. When I compile this, and I'm going to compile the other one. Now realize I can't run employee. I can just make new classes. I have to run employee test, the void main, to actually run the program which creates it. And now when we look at it, it says employee at this. This is actually a address pointer that gives me a value of this, the value in memory location of where this object is located, which is quite crazy when you think about it for a second. Instead, what you want to do is you want to uncomment this out. And then what you will get is you're overloading the toString method by redefining it inside this object file class. And then when you call it, it'll actually run this. Now please realize this /n is an end line function. And that's why I space it out this way so it'll look exactly the way here as it does on the screen. So when I compile and run this, notice I have to compile employee test because I changed employee. Now when I run it, it actually gives me a very good value of what the object James Smith and Marianne actually represent, instead of just a employee at memory location. This is highly recommended so that the end user can actually see what's going on there. That is it for the employee. Also notice that I have this blue text right here, which will be updated a lot better. This is just the first phase of commenting. I will go back and do pre-post and summary for each one of those. You guys are responsible for that. If you do choose to do this, I'll show you that in a later program. The next one we want to look at is the employee test. Now, notice that the employee test class has a public static void main string args. What this means is this actually has a program that can run, so we can actually see what's going on here. I create an employee called James Smith, and I create an employee called Marianne with age 21. I'm setting the age of employee 1, emp1, to be 26. And then I'm outputting by using the getAge function for employee 1, which would give me a value of 26. Then I'm setting employee 1, the designation, to be senior software engineer. Sets the name. And I could also set the salary if I wanted to be 1,000. Let's actually do that. And I'm going to print this. And I'm going to be senior troll officer. And then I can also set the age and the salary. And now I print it. Notice if I were to do this up here, I would get 3 printouts. And let's actually check out to see what happens here. Emp salary. Now when I run it, I get Marianne with a null value because I never declared a value and I never had set that default value like I did up here for the constructor with only 1 parameter. The 2 parameters does not have a setup there. That's why it's senior troll officer. And that is pretty much it inside the employee test. All we're doing is just calling functions. Please realize when you call these functions, you have the object variable up here, object variable name, dot, the function, and the parameters. Now realize if it returns a string, this would return a string because the toString method, I need to use that string. If I'm getting the age, I need to use that. So that returns an int, which this will actually print out to a string type. So it'll typecast it for you. And that is pretty much it. That's the employee test program. Good luck on this. This program is actually going to be hard because to do this assignment, you will need to do a scheduling system, which is actually for America's Best. Because I know an employee there that makes a scheduler, and I made a bet with them that my students could do her job better than she can. Yeah, I'm going to be in the doghouse. Anyways, so good luck with that. I challenge that. Please impress. Dress to impress, as they say. And have a great day. See you later. See you on the flip side.